Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribraja Kacharya Astuparasata Shishimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribraja Kacharya Astuparasata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki.
Jai.
Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Go Bhakti Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakun Radhakun Nagiri Govardhan Ki.
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki.
Jai.
Navadip Dham Ki.
Jai.
Mayapur Dham Ki.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham Ki.
Jai.
Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki.
Jai.
Shri Gaunitai Ki.
Jai.
Shri Radha Sarat Bihari Ki.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki.
Jai.
Yamuna Mai Ganga Mai Ki.
Jai.
Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki.
Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan Ki.
Jai.
Sankirtan Jagna Ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada's Christmas Marathon Ki.
Jai.
Shri Krishna Gita Jayanti Mahotsav Ki.
Jai.
Go Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bo.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga.
Hari Hari Bo.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So reading the last two verses of chapter 11. So I'll read the Sanskrit 3 times and then someone else can try. Iti nandadayo gopaha Krishna Rama katam muda kurvanto ramananascha navindan bhavavedanam. Iti nandadayo gopaha Krishna Rama katam muda kurvanto ramananascha navindan bhavavedanam. Iti nandadayo gopaha Krishna Rama katam muda kurvanto ramananascha navindam bhavavedanam. Someone else?
Iti dadayo gopa Krishna Rama katamura kurvanto ramananascha navindan bhavavedanam.
Iti nandadayo gopa Krishna Rama katham muda kurvanto Rama manascha navindam bhavabadanam vedanam.
Sham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Iti nandada yogopa Krishna Rama Katha Muda Kurvanto Ramanasya Navinandana Bhava Vedanam.
Anyone else?
Iti nanda yogopa Krishna Rama kadam muda kurvanto rama manasya navindam bhava vedanam.
Okay, so word for word. Iti, in this way, Nanda Adaya, all the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj. Gopa, cowherd men. Krishna Ram Katam, narration of incidents in connection with Bhagavan Krishna and Rama. Muda, in great transcendental pleasure. Kurvantaha, doing that. Ramamannaha cha, enjoyed life and increased their affection for Krishna. Na, not. Avindan, perceived. Bhava Vedanam, the tribulations of material existence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this way, all the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, enjoyed topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great transcendental pleasure. And they could not even perceive material tribulations. Purport. Here is an instruction about the result of studying or discussing the Krishna Leelas that appear in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sajjo rida avarujyate trakritibit sushushibis takshanaha takshanat. Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 2. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda in Vrindavan appeared like ordinary persons of this material world. But they never felt the tribulations of this world, although they sometimes met many dangerous situations created by the demons. This is a practical example. If we follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj and the Gopas, we can all be happy simply by discussing the activities of Krishna. Anato pasamam sakshat bhakti yogam ahuksaje lokasha janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, text number 6. Vyasadeva has given this literature so that everyone may understand one's transcendental position simply by discussing Bhagavad Katha. Even at the present moment, everyone everywhere can be happy and free from material tribulations by following Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no need of austerities and penances, which in this age are very difficult to perform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore declared, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. By our Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam so that anyone in any part of the world can be absorbed in the Krishna consciousness movement by chanting and hearing about the activities of Krishna and be free from all material tribulations. Text number 59. For the sake of time, I'm just going to read it 3 times and read the translation. Evam viharai kumarai kumaram jahatur vraje nilayanai satu bandayar markatot plavanadibi evam viharai kumarai kumaram jahatur vraje nilayanai satu bandayar markatot plavanadibi evam viharai kumarai kumaram jahatur vraje nilayanai satu bandayar markatot plavanadibi. In this way, Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood age in Brajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play, such as playing hide and seek, constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean, and jumping here and there like monkeys. Om Agyanatimirandasa Jananjanan Salakaya. Chakru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Swayam Upagadamaya Tadati Swapadantika. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Go Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all very much for, first of all, for being here. And then secondly, for allowing me to have your association and to try or to attempt to discuss this transcendental philosophy, incredible philosophy as described to us by Srila Prabhupada. Of course, without Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we would not be able to understand even a microscopic amount of this philosophy. It is so deep. Many aspects of this philosophy is just beyond our ability to comprehend. I was just listening to Srila Prabhupada's lecture this morning, and he's talking about the origin of creation. Jamadyaja, I forget the Sanskrit, that everything is emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or that from which everything is emanated is the Supreme. But that conception alone is super fantastic. You know, when you start to think about what's being said there, the implications of that there's no beginning and there is no end. The Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, Arjuna, nor all these kings. These things we read over them sometimes, we hear them, but we may not take the time to really come to consider them deeply, to think about what are the implications there. No beginning, nothing beyond Krishna. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita, there's no truth superior to me, nothing beyond me. Although one famous Indian scholar said, there's not to Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra that we have to surrender, but to the unborn beyond Krishna. But Krishna says there's nothing beyond me. I am it. So we have this rare opportunity to have a definitive understanding that there is God, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's nothing beyond him. There's no competition to him, because he can create and destroy everything. All the so-called demons who try to challenge the Lord, like Hiranyakasipu, Hiranyaksha, the list goes on, they were all destroyed by the Lord. And Prabhupada says the Lord doesn't have to personally destroy anyone. He has all of his material energies. Parasya Saktya, Vibhidaiva Srudyate, Swabhavika Jnana, Balakriyacha. And they're all working consistently, sequentially, controlling everything. So our limited ability to understand, in one sense, it's a blessing, because if we're humble enough, then we can be endowed with all this transcendental knowledge that's contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literatures. We may endeavor, as some people have, and some devotees may have as well, to try to understand some level of the vastness of the Vedic knowledge. And I say that very cautiously, because the Vedic knowledge is so expansive. The original Vedas, the corollary to the Vedas, all the Itihasas, and so many different divisions of the Vedic knowledge, Shruti and Smriti, the original and that which is understood by the great acharyas and presented. So many things are there. So we may endeavor to try to understand, study, comprehend, but the real understanding is explained here by Srila Prabhupada. Just to hear about Krishna in the association of devotees is the actual aim of our life. There's nothing really beyond that. And everything we do is to reinforce that realization so that we never forget. Rupa Goswami says the most important principle, and Srila Prabhupada says all the regulative principles are in this one principle. Always remember Krishna and never forget. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. But how do we get to that point? Because we all know that we forget him all the time. I mean, rarely if we actually think of him in his transcendental form. Excuse me. You may remember some verses and some philosophical points, some stories, some pastimes, but how much during the day do we actually stop and think of Krishna in his beautiful form? Take the time. We all have pictures in our rooms, in our temples, and on our phones. Take the time. Look at Krishna. Absorb that beautiful form. Let me show this is one of my favorite pictures. You see that one? Everyone see that picture? I described before, and I haven't been able to confirm that Prabhupada said it, but I've heard so many times from older devotees that this was Prabhupada's favorite picture, or he would say something like, this picture represents Krishna most accurately, because look at his color, that Shama, that beautiful color and that beautiful threefold bending form. And as I study that picture, I see how tall Krishna looks. He looks very tall. And look at Radharani's beauty, not just her beauty, look at her humility. Study that. Her looking at Krishna with such devotion, absorption. So that is what we're meant to do. That's what we're trying to achieve, that mood of meditating on Krishna constantly, thinking of him, thinking of his form. And he says it throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Always think of me, Arjuna, in this form of Krishna. He tells him directly, think of me in this form. Not the universal form, just this form. Think of me. So the question is, how do we get to that point of being able to think of Krishna 24 hours a day? Manmana bhava mad bhakto majajji mam namaskuru satatam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha drida vrata. How do we get to that point? That secret is being given to us here in this verse today. It's simply by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, all those things, those anarthas, those things that are blocking us, keeping us from absorbing ourselves in Krishna, those things are moved out. It's like if you have some obstruction and you're trying to see, there's some obstruction there. I don't know, it could be anything. So once you move it, then you can see clearly. So those obstructions are in the heart. And we'll try to talk about this a little bit today because it's very, not only interesting, it's very complicated. What does it mean, those obstructions? What does it mean, anarthas? All those things are very detailed. And we want to take a few minutes and go into that. But whatever they are, somehow the Lord removes those. And how is that? These are the kinds of questions we can think about. What does that really mean? Those things are removed. Most of that activity is carried out by the super soul. And the super soul, it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam second canto, Sukadeva Goswami explains, and Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, that the intelligence is the form, direction of the super soul. And I've thought about this many times over the 40-something years trying to really understand that. And I've had many discussions with devotees. Intelligence is the form, direction of the super soul. So as much as I can understand is that our intelligence, which is so subtle, we can't see it. The super soul speaks to us through that intelligence. He's giving us directions. He's giving us guidance through that intelligence, even though we can't see the intelligence, and we definitely can't see the super soul. Can't see either. We can't see our mind. We can't see anything. Although we think ourselves to be the doer of activities that are carried out by nature. That is our foolishness. But we can't see the intelligence, the mind, the super soul, desires. How do you see a desire? You can see the manifestation of the desire, but where does it come from? What is it? What is it? So the Lord is in the heart, and he can remove all those things. Shimbatam Sakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Ridyantastu Yabadrani Vidu Notis Ritsatam. What does that mean? He's situated in everyone's heart, and he's cleansing the desire for material enjoyment from the heart. And he just wants to see that we've developed an interest to hear about him. And then Bhagavatam also explains how to develop that interest. Sushusho Shadadanasa Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. So by serving the advanced devotees who have themselves achieved that platform, we can get the affinity, because the Lord is saying, is explaining in that verse 17, for one who's developed the affinity to hear the messages. So how do you get the affinity? By serving the devotees. Sevaya Vipraha, serving the devotees of the Lord. And then he further says, text 18, first canto, second chapter. We know that verse, Nasta Prahiso Badresu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavatu Tamasloke, Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Naistiki, getting rid of all these things. How? By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, who is also Bhagavat. And then Srila Prabhupada further elaborates, saying, anything in relationship with Krishna, any devotee in relationship with Krishna, you can serve. Because sometimes we think that means just serving the Guru. And forget about the rest of you guys. I'm just going to serve my Guru. No. All these things that are connected to Krishna. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, in that verse 18, first canto, second chapter, verse 18, by regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, all the inauspicious things in the heart are practically destroyed to nil. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. How does all that work? It's very mystical. If you stop and consider these things, you find yourself absorbed in the highest level of so-called mysticism. This is it. We don't have to go to the Himalayan mountains and sit in the cold and grow matted hair and eat some nuts and fruits off the trees. No, Prabhupada is saying you don't need to do all that. Just hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no greater austerity. Why is it an austerity? Because we know it's relishable to those who are advancing in Krishna consciousness. But for most of us, it's an austerity because we have to surrender our intelligence, our listening capabilities and capacities, take the time to do it. I mean, it's very hard for most of us just to slow down. Just slow down, sit down and read the Bhagavatam. And it doesn't have to be a beautiful, large group. Like we have a beautiful group of devotees here. It's so wonderful. I see all your names and some faces. So wonderful. You may just be by yourself. And for the most part, we are. Like now, we're all kind of locked down because of COVID. It's an incredible opportunity to just slow down and just allow yourself to hear the Lord's glories, his pastimes. And on occasion, you get to talk to a few devotees. But even if you don't really get a chance to even talk to the devotees, just slow down, absorb yourself, and take the time to look at what's being said in these books and try to absorb them. Now, let me go into what I really wanted to talk about. So I'm reading the book. I'm seeing what's in front of me. How is it that I'm able to understand? I don't even see my mind. I don't see my intelligence. I guess I have a mind. I hope I have a little intelligence, but I can't see it. I can't confirm it. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Prabhupada taught us all that. But you can't see the soul. So the symptom of the soul is consciousness. As long as we're conscious, we know the soul is there. So intelligence, being able to articulate something, to try and express something. How are we able to do that? You know what happens? We become so proud thinking that we're doing it, even as devotees. Even though we know what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite kriyamanani gunaya karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudadma kartahamiti manyate. He's telling us, It's your false ego making you think that you're doing, or making me think that I'm moving my hands, I'm speaking, I'm trying to put words together. It's a fool's paradise. It's not us. It's not us. And Prabhupada was saying this morning, we don't even understand how we're digesting food. We don't even know. He said these things are going on and we don't pay much attention to them. Just like the simple act of standing up and walking. Now, when we were little babies, we couldn't do that. Someone had to hold, like that picture of Prabhupada. Everyone's seen that picture of Srila Prabhupada when he was staying with Sally Argawal and her husband. And the little boy Bridge, the first day that he walked, Prabhupada's holding his hand like that. And the look on Prabhupada's face, it looks like a cartoon. It's like laughing, such a big smile. He's so happy to hold that little boy's hand in his first days walking. That's why, you know, when we're dealing with children, love them, be careful with them, be very loving with them. Prabhupada was. Sometimes the devotees are a little foolish. They think, it's just Maya. What do you mean Maya? Prabhupada's smiling and holding a little boy's hand when the first day he's walking. So when he was there, he was just absorbed in Krishna, and the people around him were just inspired by him. So Prabhupada's telling us we're not doing anything. It's all being done by Krishna, but we think that we're doing it. We should all remember that we're not the doers of these activities that are carried out by Krishna's energy. So then we go a little bit deeper and say, all right, what does that really mean? Well, it means that Krishna is controlling everything. Now, through the demigods, 33 million demigods, Srila Prabhupada explained, and they're dealing with all this motion and activities, eyes moving, digestion. You know, we know from Ayurveda about the different airs in the body and how things are moving, but we don't consciously deal with that. We don't consciously deal with it. So how is it going on? It's pretty amazing. As I was giving an example about walking, standing. As a child, like Prabhupada was holding that little boy, just as a child, we couldn't do it. Now we don't even think about it. We just go about our day. Even if you stop and think about the function of your body, and Prabhupada many times tells us to do that, thinking about just the way your body operates, you'll begin to appreciate some of the dynamics of what Krishna's actually doing. What to speak of his pastimes? We haven't even gotten to that point in this discussion. What to speak of his pastimes? How are we supposed to understand this? Don't fool yourselves, and don't allow others to fool you about the pastimes of the Lord. The most important thing for us to do is to hear them. We should not act like we're already there in those pastimes. Some of you might. I mean, I know I'm not. Maybe some of you are actually seeing Krishna, because Rupa Goswami says the perfection of the eyes is to see Krishna and Balaram entering the forest of Vrindavan. Raise your hand. I'm not going to ask you to do that. I'll just tell you, I've never seen him entering the forest of Vrindavan. One time I had this desire. I had like a dream, something conscious thing. It was a conscious dream of this idea of peering away the brush and the bushes and to see Krishna and Balaram playing by the Yamuna. So my godbrother Rasanath Prabhu, who's an incredible artist, he's an amazing artist. So I told him about this vision, this idea. So he did a drawing of that. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I was seeing in my dream. I was like behind this bush and I was moving it and I could see Krishna and Balaram like that. But that's just a dream. Not in conscious awake, but I could just feel it. Such a wonderful thought, So we're not there yet, but we are there already. We're not there, but we're there. Achincha beta beta atatta, simultaneously one and different. So we're not there, but we're there. How are we there? Srimad Bhagavatam. You want to go and play with Krishna? Go to Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, right now you're in the 10th canto and you're hearing all these amazing pastimes. Trinavarta, this and that, Govardhan Puja, so many pastimes. We're right there with Krishna. And then Krishna, what does it say here? Just trying to find that. Yeah, the last verse. In this way, Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood age in Vrajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play. such as playing. So Krishna and Balaram are playing hide and seek. They're playing hide and seek and constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean like Lord Ramchandra and jumping like monkeys here and there. I mean, this is like, you go tell that to any person outside of Krishna consciousness. Go to some religious institutions that God was jumping like a monkey and playing. They'll laugh you out of the place. Get out of here. That's just ridiculous. That makes no sense. But in reality, that's what's going on. So the gopis also, when Krishna and Balaram, you know, they left Vrindavan, Balaram came back to visit with the gopis, but Krishna really never came back. But he never really left. Achincha Beda Beda Tattva. He left, but he never left because the gopis, they hung on to him through their meditation. It's like Bilba Mangala Thakur when Krishna was trying to cheat him as a little cowherd boy. And Bilba Mangala Thakur was blind, so he can't see. And Krishna brought him some milk, and Bilba Mangala started thinking, I think I know who this is. I think it's Krishna. So then he tried to catch him, but Krishna was running away. Then he still tried to catch him. Krishna was running away. And then he had him. And then Krishna ran away. He said, you may break away from my embrace, but you can never leave my heart. Never. Okay, run away. Get away from my hands, for I got you. I'm keeping you here. So the gopis, they always had Krishna. And they were doing just like what Krishna and Balaram are doing here. They were pretending the pastimes of the Lord. They did the Putana pastime. They did the breaking of the cart. They did everything. It's described in the Krishna book. And in this way, they were absorbed in Krishna. And in this way, Krishna was never away from them. He's always with us anyway. Okay, he left Vrindavan, and he stayed there in his Bhav expansion because they were meditating on him. And he went to Mathura, grand position. He became such a, elaborate lifestyle. And then he had the beautiful Dwarka city. All those things are going on. But Krishna, his joy was to be in Vrindavan and to play with the cowherd boys and be with the gopis. So the gopis, they had this great advantage of never forgetting Krishna and never feeling unhappy. Really, the unhappiness was the happiness, which is another confusing issue. Don't try to explain this to the general mass of people. The unhappiness was the happiness. And Prabhupada says it in a different way. He says, suffering is a symptom of God's love. That's a direct quote. Suffering is a symptom of God's love. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Until you study Queen Kunti, then it makes sense. Study Queen Kunti and her response to that so-called suffering. That's like the verse is talking about, and the purport is talking about getting free from all these material tribulations. So let's see how Queen Kunti got free. She was in the midst of it. And it says also here, those tribulations are going to be there, but the devotee won't be disturbed by them or distracted by them. So Queen Kunti, her sons, their lives were put in jeopardy every day when they were banished. Every day someone's trying to kill them. How many years? 12 years, 13 years? I keep forgetting. Who knows? How many years were the Pandavas banished to the forest? Anybody? Was it 12?
12 plus 1 as far as I know.
12 plus 1. Thank you, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Yeah.
So every day they're being practically attacked. And Prabhupada describes in great detail when they were in the house of lac. And lac is a very flammable substance. And it was set on fire. So you can imagine, most of us have children. Can you imagine your child being put in that kind of danger every day? How would you feel? Once you're free from that danger, you would rejoice. So wonderful, now we're free. And Kunti said, no, let it happen again, and again, and again. That doesn't make sense unless you think about it in the Krishna conscious way. She explains it. Because when I'm put into the danger, when I'm suffering, I'm forced to remember you. And the conclusion is, by remembering you, I will no longer have to see birth and death. She was so intelligent. So let the suffering come. I don't mind, Krishna, because it's forcing me to take shelter of you, just like COVID-19. It's forcing us to slow down, slow down. Now we can take advantage of that slowing down and do all nonsense. We can waste all of our time and just watch TV, as they call it, binge watching. We can watch every one of the shows in this thing and every one of the shows in that thing. Or we can take this opportunity to increase. I'm not saying that I personally read all day long, because I don't. But we can take this time to increase our hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And think about it. We have the Srimad Bhagavatam. Wow. Srimad Bhagavatam is absolutely amazing. We have it. And here's the deal. We don't have to speculate. Prabhupada's already given us the purports. Don't have to try to figure it out. It's given to us by Srila Prabhupada. He sacrificed. He sacrificed. I was telling everyone that, I just had my birthday. I turned 69. So this is my Prabhupada year, 69 years old. Prabhupada left India when he was 69. So I'm absorbed in that consciousness that I'm at the same age that my Guru Maharaj was when he left India. It's amazing. So in January of that year when he was 69, Prabhupada was just waiting for his Srimad Bhagavatam to be finished. He had already finished the translation work, so he was waiting to get his Srimad Bhagavatams. I'm trying to remember the exact sequence. Actually, when he left, he had to stop. Where did he stop? To pick up some trunks or cases of his Srimad Bhagavatams. And after he had gotten on the boat. So he was just trying to get his things together so that he could get on that boat and take that risk to come to America, even though everyone told him you're too old. That's interesting to me, because Sumati Murarji told Prabhupada he's too old. Her secretary told Prabhupada he's too old. And they also told him, you're going to die. I'm thinking, I'm 69. Wow, I must be pretty old. Because they said, Prabhupada, you're too old. You're 69. You're too old. You're going to die. And Prabhupada, he didn't care. He had something in his heart, something in his mind. It's a very nice thing that Srila Prabhupada says in, where was this? In a lecture he gave. It was 1976, a lecture to devotees in Vrindavan. And I realized I was there for that lecture, because this is when I was in India in 1976, and we were in Vrindavan in April. So this is a lecture that I was fortunate to be at. So Prabhupada said, so people say that I have done miracle. Maybe. At least it is the first time in the history that Vedic culture in its true form is being distributed all over the world. We have got many appreciation by the learned scholar circle, big professors all over the world. They are accepting that this is the first time that India's traditional spiritual culture is being spread. One professor in France, he has plainly said that even Aurobindo or Dr. Radhakrishna, they presented this Vedic culture in a modernized way, not in its original traditional form. That is a fact. We don't make any compromise. Therefore, we have especially meant Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to follow what Krishna says. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Amar Agaya Guru Hana Tara Edesh. Edesh, wherever you are, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Harrisburg, Los Angeles, India, England, wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Either you are in India or in America or France or anywhere, any desha, or any country, wherever you are, just try to deliver them, because Guru's business is to deliver the fallen. And then in another place, real quickly here, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in first canto, 5th chapter, text 11, Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva, Prabhupada explains in a very humble way, and you probably have all heard this or remember this. I'm sure you've read it. He's saying that We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart. And naturally, the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. And then just one more part. He's talking about himself. And please note how humble Srila Prabhupada is. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we're sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. That is so powerful. Prabhupada he's taking that position of humility. He's not saying, I am so special. I have done something wonderful. The only wonderful thing I've done, I did not deviate from my spiritual master's order. That's the example that Srila Prabhupada gave us. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. That's the example. Don't deviate. I'm saying that to you, to me. It's back and forth. Whatever I'm saying to you, I'm saying to myself. Because why? It's not me speaking. I'm only able to speak because of what the Super Soul is allowing me to say. He's the one in charge. So I begged him, oh Lord, please allow me to say something that will inspire devotees and myself. Whenever you're speaking, you're actually speaking to yourself. Like they say, preaching to the choir in Christianity. But when you're preaching to yourself as well. You want to hear, because it's coming from the Super Soul. What is that verse? Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanivisto, matatsmatir jnanam apoanam cha, vedaischa savar aham eva vedya, vedanta krid veda vedevacha. I'm situated in everyone's heart, and from me come knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, goal of the Vedas, by all the Vedas unto be known. He's telling us so many ways. So one other point I did want to cover before we take some questions is about being empowered. Srila Prabhupada has demonstrated about being empowered. What does it mean? What does it look like to be empowered? You cannot give Krishna consciousness purely without being empowered, but what does that really mean? And I was going to ask some different devotees to weigh in, but we'll do that in the question part. But as I'm meditating on that, as the Super Soul is guiding me to whatever level I am qualified to receive from the Super Soul, because I can't do anything without his mercy. So whatever little bit he's allowing, he's pushing me to think, what does that really mean? Is it some mystical thing? Because there's some gurus, and one guru in particular, he would take a peacock feather and the disciples would come to him and he would rub their head with the peacock feather. And now you're empowered. Now you're initiated, you're blessed, whatever. So with the peacock feather. So sometimes in a naive way, neophyte way, sometimes devotees might think being empowered means something's just going to wash over me and I'm going to be empowered. And you're always asking the Guru, please give me mercy. Please give me mercy. What does that mean? Give me mercy. What does that mean? Is he going to pour something on you? Do something like that? I don't know, some mudra mantra? Because we're looking for the shortcut. There are no shortcuts. The only shortcut is the Maha Mantra. As Prabhupada says, there's many rungs on the ladder, and you can, better example, the elevator or the stairs. So you can take the stairs and take a long time, or take the elevator. So the elevator, the shortcut, is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. You can bypass so many things, but don't try to find these little shortcuts that if the Guru just does this and this, that, and I can be empowered. No. I was meditating on a nice, simple example that just happened. There's two examples, one in Philadelphia and one in Atlanta. Let me give the Philadelphia one first. And Jonah, you probably remember this because recently the temple there in Philly announced the book marathon. I remember because I came on the Zoom conference there. And what was the goal, Drona Prabhu, at the book marathon? How many cases?
108 cases.
Now, check out him being empowered. It's amazing. I got a message a few days ago from Danu Tarpata, and he said, Prabhu, we've already done 137 cases. I went, okay, this is interesting. Then last night I got a message from Haryashva Prabhu. He said, we're getting close, Prabhu. We had 159 cases because Haryashva Prabhu, Drona and I and Haryashva, we're kind of like the internal management little group. We have a little team that we meet every week and discuss about ISKCON Philly. So Haryashva was like so excited because he's an old book distributor like myself. He was thinking, why don't we just double it? Doubling means for that goal that Drona announced would be 216 cases of books. But the original goal was 108. But then we're starting to get empowered. We're starting to get empowered. Now it's up to 156. We're getting more empowered and really starting to think we could possibly double it, 216. That's not impossible. We could probably do that. To me, that's empowered. Empowered. You are given the opportunity. There's no special thing that's going to come and fit on your head, some this and that. It's like you're already engaging in the activities. You're listening to the super soul. You're following the inspiration, and you're taking that opportunity, or in some cases, taking the risk. The example of Srila Prabhupada taking the risk. He was empowered. How was he empowered? He had an order from his guru. That was his empowerment. Did he have any specific skills? He says in this thing I just read, I have no skill. I don't even know this language perfectly. I have no literary, backdrop. But it's an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. And I'm willing to take the risk. Therefore, he's empowered. The opportunity is placed before us. Will we take it? Just like in the normal sense of the word. Some of you may work in a corporate environment. So your supervisors or whatever may empower you to take on a particular responsibility. Now, obviously, they're not going to give you that responsibility unless you have demonstrated some capability over time. They've watched you, they've observed you. And they say, this one can probably do it. It might be a little bit out of his or her comfort zone, but I trust that they can do it. And then they ask you to take on that responsibility. And then you grow into that responsibility. You're being empowered. So in a similar way, Srila Prabhupada has given us this incredible mission of distributing Krishna consciousness. So now, if we take it up and we try, we start thinking, we get rid of the fears, we start thinking, then the empowerment happens, just like in Philly. Now we're up to 100 and probably 160 some cases by the time I finish this lecture, because some of you might want to donate a couple of cases of books. This is an advertisement for the book marathon. Okay. Anyway, so the other example is Atlanta. I'm looking at my dear friend, Mother Gita. She's here. Her niece who's not even initiated. Now, Gita's initiated by Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and her sister's initiated by Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So her sister's daughter, her name is Arati. She's a wonderful young lady, but she's not a full-time devotee, all those kinds of things. But I'm sitting here right now, being in this movement almost 48 years. I am so inspired by what she just did a few days ago. It's changing my whole perception about how to serve, how to preach book distribution in this difficult time. And Drona, I'll refer back to you also. We talked about this little library thing that we talked about before, you remember? Because across the street from the temple, there's a family that has that little library. It's like almost like a post box, and they put books there and people exchange books and all that. So Arati, what she did, this is her inspiration, super soul, speaking to her intelligence, giving her ideas. She came up with this idea to put a table at her front door with books and snacks and a little sign, ho, 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 Merry Christmas, and please take a book. So over the last 2 days, I've gotten at least 3 videos from her mother because they have that Ring doorbell so they can see who's at the door. So the UPS driver came up and picked up all the little bags of goodies. And then he went over and picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. He went to his truck. Then he ran back and said, "Can I have maybe one more? Because I have a friend. We study stuff like this. Can I have one more for my friend?" I was like, "Oh my God, Eureka. This is incredible." So then yesterday, because of the inspiration from Archie, I put up my little book table at my front door because I knew the UPS man was coming. Now the UPS man, I don't know if he took a book because I hadn't counted them yet, but a lady delivered a gift to my wife and I from a wonderful devotee here in Atlanta. We received a little gift, and the lady who brought the gift, she was standing at the door. So I said, "Look, go ahead and take a book." She was like, "Wow, okay." And she took a book. I distributed the book at my front door because people are coming to our front doors all the time, delivery people, post office people. So if you put a little table there and just see what happens, take the risk, take the risk. So that is empowered. That's being empowered by listening to the super soul, driving us through our intelligence to take the risk. Now, here's a historical example about the power of that. It's the beginning of book distribution at the airports. That began by devotees driving home, looking at the airport, thinking that might be an interesting place to go and distribute books. They had never done it before. Practically book distribution, big book distribution was really not the thing at that time. BTGs was the thing, cases and cases of BTGs. But these devotees thought, let's try that. And they tried it. And guess what? They were harassed by the police, harassed by everybody. But now to this day now, still devotees are at the airport. Because of that, devotees taking that risk, listening to the super soul. Try, just try, see what happens. Do it for me. Take that risk. And that's what drove Srila Prabhupada. His Guru Maharaj told him, preach in English, go to preach in the West. It drove him past all his fears. Because we all have our fears and hesitations. We're worried about what's going to happen. Take some risk for Krishna, calculated risk. And there's another element that's important. It says, first of all, you deserve, then you desire. These Prabhupada's words exactly. First you deserve, then you desire. So if you want to be able to do something, you have to deserve that. That desire is so big, it's so powerful. You want to do something for your guru, something for Srila Prabhupada's mission. That's a big desire in the face of all this going on in the world. So we have to prepare ourselves. What is that preparing ourselves? Deserving. Nasta prayasa badresu, nityam bhagavati sevaya, bhagavati utamaso, ke bhakti bhavati naisiki. Regularly attending classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, getting the nectar into our hearts. And the thing is, this is how it works. You become so excited about Krishna, you just want to tell everybody. The fear goes away. You just want to share Krishna's glories with everyone. And that's the mission that Srila Prabhupada gave us by his own example, to present this Krishna consciousness anywhere and everywhere. Last thing I want to read really quick. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of our dormant affection of love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, as I mentioned, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for the development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. So what is mentioned in the verse that, in this way, all the cowherd men headed by Nanda Maharaj enjoyed topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great pleasure, transcendental pleasure, and they could not even perceive material tribulations. They were just so absorbed in Krishna, they couldn't even perceive material tribulations. most of us, we're just disturbed constantly by material tribulations. It just, we get distracted by everything, and I'm guilty like anybody else. But if we absorb ourselves in these wonderful pastimes of the Lord and come to that point of taste, that ruchi, actually begin to taste this nectar, then we won't even perceive it. It'll be there right now in Atlanta. It's raining like anything. It's going to get so cold tonight in the 20s and this and that. Maybe it'll snow. I know up in Philly, you guys had snow recently. So what? If we're absorbed, like right now, as I'm speaking to you, if I had not stopped and thought about the rain, I wasn't thinking about it or what's going to be later on today. Not really. So that is the kind of the secret that's being revealed to us. If we want to be free from material tribulations, material problems, absorb ourselves in Krishna. Because generally speaking, you can't think of too many things at once. Like they say, walk and chew gum, whatever. So it's kind of hard to think of two things at once. But if we're thinking of Krishna, then Maya has a hard time to get in there. She really does. But if we allow ourselves to be too distracted, Maya says she takes any opportunity. She'll seize every opportunity to sneak in there and cause you disturbance. But if we protect each other by sharing Krishna consciousness with each other as much as we can, okay, as much as we possibly can, try to remember this. When you're talking to a devotee, try to sneak in a little Krishna consciousness. Maybe you call the devotee for some other reason. Maybe you're exchanging this or that. Try to sneak in a little Krishna consciousness. Draw each other into Krishna. Make that conversation something about Krishna. As I was saying so much about Haryashra Prabhu there in Philly, whenever we talk, it's always like at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, because we get into this Krishna thing and the verses and the stories. It's just like, it's amazing. And we say, oh my God, it's like 6 o'clock. Oh my God, we got to do this and that. That should be our standard, that we get so absorbed, forget about time, we forget about everything. And as Krishna and Balaram, the last verse of this chapter, I'll leave you with that. In this way, Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood, age in Brajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play, such as playing hide and seek, constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean, and jumping here and there like monkeys. So beautiful. So I'll stop. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Dronacharya, any questions or comments?
Yes, we have one from Mother Gita.
Haribo, Gita.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a wonderful lecture, Prabhu. I wish you could go on for a few more hours so we could get more nectar.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, can I ask you 2 questions, please?
Oh, please.
Yes. So one is from verse number 58, where in the purport, it is mentioned that one can be happy by following Srimad Bhagavatam. So can you please explain how practically can we follow Srimad Bhagavatam?
Well, first we have to, first and foremost, is reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Seriously, that's the first and foremost thing. Like when it says, Nasta Praisu Badrisu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. So how do we serve the Bhagavat? Serve the person Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat. So there's several ways that we can say that we can serve the Bhagavat. We can serve the Bhagavat by sharing the Bhagavat with other people. But in order to effectively share, we need to, it's almost like in selling. This is something I learned years ago. Selling is a transference of conviction. Selling is a transference of conviction. See, you're telling someone that I like this thing. I like this box of soap. I use it all the time and it cleans everything nicely. And they listen to you and go, wow, I'm starting to believe what this guy is saying. So you're transferring your conviction into them. But if you have no conviction, if you have no taste for the Bhagavatam, it's really hard to present it. And as I always said, in the days when I was a young brahmachari, we used to go to the airport every day. It was Vaishasika, myself, Suradas, many of the older devotees, Swavas, so many devotees, Tripurari, Swami, Charu, Deshna, Vaishnava, none of the list goes on. So in the morning, in the Bhagavatam class, we really paid attention because you know what? That was our Sankirtan presentation for that day. What we learned in the class that morning, we would put it in our own words and discuss it when we went out on Sankirtan with the people. So that is serving the Bhagavatam, and that's the happiness that comes from that. First and foremost, hearing the Bhagavatam. What is it? Shravanam, kirtanam. So hearing is the first thing. And by doing that, that joy is not under your control or our control. You can't force the happiness to come out. If you're fortunate, it said, you are endowed with that happiness by Krishna. It's not something under our control. You can't intellectually put it all together and make happiness come. It won't. But if Krishna is pleased with you, as Prabhupada said in what I read earlier, he may, and the word may means he may or he may not, he may endow you with that happiness. So that's what I would say, Gita, that first and foremost, show Krishna that you have developed the urge to hear his messages. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, text 17. And he's in your heart. And he starts to help you. And that happiness starts to come out. Hope that answered the part of your question. You had 2 questions, right?
Thank you so much. So the other question is, in your lecture, you talked about super soul is guiding us through intelligence. So how does one understand whether it is the intelligence or the mind speaking? So what is the difference?
Graphic example. On one shoulder, there's the devil. On the other shoulder, there's something else, and they're both whispering in your ears. So the example we have from the Vedic philosophy is 2 birds sitting on a tree. Is that Katu Upanishad? I think it's Katu Upanishad, something. So 2 birds sitting on a tree. That's the example of the super soul and the soul within the heart. So the one bird Prabhupada describes as the enjoying bird, experiencing bird. And the other bird is the witnessing bird. So the witnessing bird, he knows already everything about this tree. And he's telling this bird, that's not a good fruit. That's sour, that's bitter, you can take that one. And the experiencing bird sometimes listens and sometimes doesn't. So the secret is learn how to listen. So then your real question is, how do you listen? How do you distinguish which is which? That's intelligence, right? Intelligence is the ability to discriminate. The mind is always telling you enjoy, enjoy, enjoy everything. The mind has this problem. It wants to enjoy everything. Intelligence is that ability to discriminate. How do you develop more intelligence? That's explained in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, about entering the forest of material enjoyment. So we have to build up our intelligence. Now, it's coming from, the super soul is there, and from him come knowledge and remembrance. He's there guiding. So through the intelligence, he's saying to us, don't do this, don't do that. If we have sufficiently exposed ourselves to the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly every day, then we've built up our capacity to distinguish which are the instructions coming from the super soul and which are coming from the mind. But alongside that, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. We still need to confirm. So if you are at all confused whether or not this is the super soul or just my mind, you go to a devotee that you have trust and you discuss with that devotee. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? As I mentioned so many times, I have so many confidants that I go to and say, Prabhu, Mataji, what about this? What about that? So that's the way I perceive it.
Thank you, Prabhu. And I know, and you know that I'll come to you for that.
And you know that I come to you as well. We share so much together, Gita and myself. And I'm so happy to have you.
Also, I wanted to add about Aarti that she also kept a fruit prasadam for them to
so
take
nice
with them. And she sent me 2 more videos of some more UPS people picking up.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So you can all try that a little bit if you like. Dona, Prabhu?
That was very inspiring, that video. It gives more ideas, especially now during the pandemic, of how to distribute books. And sometimes even devotees, there's a little bit of intimidation or just knowing how to approach people and to distribute books. But that's a very kind of innocent way. You just put a table out there. If people want to come and take it, they take it. If not, there's no real interaction that's required. Very simple.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, that's really, to me, it's contactless, which is good in COVID. And there's also no fear. You just put them out there and shut the door and run away and hide. Just put the books, shut the door, run away, and then peek out the door every now and then through the window and see that somebody pick it up. What I did, I wrote down exactly the number of books so I can recount and see how many books were taken. So it's kind of nice.
Sukada Prabhu is with us. He has a question.
Hey, Sukada Prabhu. Are you there? He disappeared on us. Are you on mute? Are you on mute? I see his books. I don't see him. Maybe he stepped away.
Yeah.
Oh, Haribol Prabhu.
Hey, Prabhu, Sama Base Doors Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble Prabhupada.
How's my sunroom?
Sunroom is full of moons. Now, I heard you saying about having happiness.
Yes.
But especially during this wonderful pandemic time, a lot of people, I'm not just talking about myself, but a lot of people, they're going through a lot of, like they have fear, the fear of failure or fear of success. Okay. And that kind of brings the happiness or distress. So how this our spiritual Krishna consciousness, and since Christmas is coming tomorrow, and people still are not feeling the joy which normally people do feel during the Christmas time. Especially we go out to distribute books, distribute candies in the corner as we used to do in Atlanta. It was the joy of the year. We used to always look forward for the Christmas marathon, especially Mother Gandhari leading the whole show. But what will make somebody happy internally? Even though we are reading books every morning, we are, chanting our rounds and everything, but let's put not ourselves in that slow. The other mass, those who don't have any idea about God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and they're going through all this mental distress. What formula or what medicine can we give them so that they can, they can be happy?
Yeah, I got your point. It's very powerful. Interestingly enough, in the purport, that's the last thing that Prabhupada says in this last purport of this chapter. He says, by our Krishna consciousness movement, we're trying to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam so that anyone in any part of the world can be absorbed in the Krishna consciousness movement by chanting and hearing about the activities of Krishna and be free from all the material tribulations. So it sounds like, yeah, but what about, we need something that's immediate right now. It's not like that. Nasta Praisa Badresu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavatu Tamasloke, Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. It says these things are practically destroyed to nil. They're not totally immediately destroyed. All this distress and anxiety, it doesn't immediately go away. It takes time. So that requires faith, adao shraddha. So it takes some faith in the literature. So to your point, new people don't have that faith. They have no idea what this is. You give them a book, they're like, okay, I'm reading it. Well, what is that? They need association. So you can enlighten them. So we have to be like a guru. Lord Chaitanya wanted everyone to become guru, wherever they are. Whatever dish, whatever place, be a guru. Your front door, be a guru. And then you gradually try to elevate people to understand what these books are. Giving the book is phase one. It's like in every book that I give out at my front door, I put my little card there. So if someone has a question, they can have someone to come in contact with. We have to become better at this follow-up and training people, helping them to understand the facility of these books. So that happiness is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But rightly so, as you're pointing out, Sukada, it's a little hard for people to catch on that. So we have to be the walking, living examples of that happiness. We ourselves have to be happy. You know, the weather's not good, this, that, and the other. We have to be blissful by way of following consistently, reading these books consistently ourselves. And then we can demonstrate to other people where the joy really is. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. So we have to be patient. We have to be enthusiastic about this movement, but also patient about the process. There is a process at work, and it's all described very systematically. You hear the Bhagavatam, you develop an urge to hear it. Krishna starts to help you in your heart. You gradually get free from the tribulations and all these things that are causing us problems. And then one day, lo and behold, you'll just be happy hearing about Krishna. You won't need anything else. We're not there yet. But one day it'll definitely happen for us, that we'll just be happy talking to each other about Krishna all day. Oh my God. You're making me ecstatic, Sukada, just by thinking about what you said there. Anything else, Drona?
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Well, Bhadra, it was a pleasure listening to you today. It's very enthusiastic. You gave us some very good insights on the importance of reading the books, distributing the books. Gave us some practical ways in which we can do that. We wish you and your family, happy holidays. Have a wonderful Gita Jayanti. Tomorrow. Thank you so very much.
And I just have one request of the devotees, that any of you who have not had the opportunity to connect with Dronacharya Prabhu or Denu Tarpada. Denu Tarpada Prabhu is our Sankirtan leader, to help us achieve this goal that we have in ISKCON Philly, which is doubling what we had originally said. And we're pretty close. So if anyone has not had the opportunity to sponsor one case of books, or if you want to join with someone else to do it, I think it would be a really nice thing. I really don't have much resources, but somehow Krishna said, Balabhadra, you should help. So he said, give 4 cases. I said, wow, that's a lot. Okay, let me do it. And I feel so happy being able to do this. Like, wow. Then I heard news from Haryasa. There's one devotee gave like 20 cases or something like that. I don't know the number, some big number. So if any of you have a desire to participate in this wonderful effort, it goes until January 7th or something. 7th, yeah, so please consider that. Haribo.
And some people wonder, what do we do with, the cases? So they may say, well, what do I do with a case of books?
Put them on your front door, like I just said.
So you can distribute them yourselves, or
absolutely, yeah,
donate it to the temple.
Yeah,
the temple has different. We have a couple different ministries. We have the Motel Gita ministry. We have a prison ministry in which we distribute to, and then also we are stacking the warehouse, so to speak, after the pandemic.
Yes,
actually go out on the streets and distribute these books too, and to have a storeroom of books that are ready to go out is also a great benefit.
And I actually donated 2 cases to some brahmacharis who go on book distribution every day, and they were so happy to get those 2 cases. So I'm, in my mind right now, every month I'm going to try to find someone who's doing book distribution along with myself, and then donate some books. You can donate them to other devotees who are in a position to preach and distribute books as well. So there's many ways to do it. So if you're desiring to do it, Krishna gives you the intelligence. He'll give you ideas. But if you're not even willing to take the risk to desire, then what can be said? But if you just desire, Krishna, I want to help. I want to be part of this. And then Krishna says, do this, like he did Arti. Put them at your front door. Put them here, put them there. So
Good job.
Thank you.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Vinjavali, my inspiration, Vinjavali.
I had a quick question, please.
Yes.
So how much is each case, and where do we donate?
So the great question. Each case is $108. And that is either, I believe it's 24 soft-bound Bhagavad Gitas or 18 hard-bound Bhagavad Gitas, whichever ones you like. And, we have a link on our website, probably the easiest way. We have a link in which you can give your debit or credit card, I can, if I get your information, I can send you that link that we have.
I can send it to her because that's how
That'd be great. Thank you, Balabhadra.
I'll send it to her.
All right, thank you.
And if you want it shipped, if you want these Bhagavad Gita's shipped, there's an additional shipping fee.
No, I would like you to distribute it for me.
Haribo.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you very much, Mother. Yeah.
I did little bit service, Prabhu, yesterday. You know, because here this temple, they have too many cases, like people donated. So they want us to distribute. And they are putting one cookie in that. And then just nice happy holidays, some small slip they're putting. And then putting a ribbon. So putting at the doors. So I was taking some books, and then my friend gave me here, devotee gave me some books. So I just took the books. But this is a good idea that Aarti did, you know, because I was thinking that how many books I can carry and then go, because I'm not driving here, I have to walk. So I tried whatever little service I want to do, devotional service. Wow. So I was doing yesterday, I could do 8 books already. So she said she will bring me a case, you know, she will put here, so that I want to. But Aarti's idea is a very good idea, so I want to try that.
Yeah, Benjavali's in California. She's not in Philadelphia. She's in California.
I'm in San Jose.
Good distribution. That's so nice. Thank you for sharing.
So the temple people asked me to do that, so I said I will do some little.
Thank you. Haribo.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Service.
Okay. Nice class.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So tonight is a Thursday night at 6:45. There is a Brahma Samhita recitation. If you're interested in reciting or in learning Brahma Samhita, Vishnu Prabhu is leading a group of devotees in that. And then at 7 o'clock, we have our Srila Prabhupada Leela study. We're studying the book written on Mother Jamuna Devi and her life with Srila Prabhupada. So that's at 7 o'clock tonight, the same Zoom channel. Please tune in for that. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Ekadasi, as well as Gita Jayanti, as well as Christmas Day. So we'll still have our same program in the morning, Bhagavatam in the morning. And then there's 3 different Bhagavad Gita readings throughout the day.
Wow.
9 o'clock, and that will be English. There'll be a 1:30 Sanskrit, and then we'll have English again at 5:30. And they'll all be on the same Zoom channel.
Haribo.
Okay. Thank you again, Balabhadra Prabhu.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, everybody. Happy holidays, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Stay safe.
Krishna.
Stay safe. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Vasantapya vichapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.